we are going to talk Delphi because it is popping off, okay? I don't even know what to think at this point. I know that it is literally tragic, though, what is happening. So everybody knows we got this memorandum. It literally shook the internet, shook the true crime community, shook the justice system. You know what I mean? Like, it was shocking what was written in that memorandum. And I think everybody's initial reaction was to laugh at it or be like, psh, write it off. But then I saw people like Vinny from Court TV, lots of people being like, wait a minute, this might have some validity in some aspects. Like, maybe it's not a cult, which we did the episode on the Vinlanders. I really suggest you check that out. Nobody was talking about that when we first brought that information. Now I see a few people catching on to it. But I do believe we're the ones who broke that open at first.
Well, it's because of how the sticks were on the body of the one. It's clearly a VL. Like, so clear.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was...
And that's their sign.
I mean, that's not what broke it open for me. It was researching the Vinlanders because I saw the name mentioned in the memorandum, and I saw Firm 22, and I was like, wait, what does that mean? Can I find anything on that?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're citing the 4 people they believe were involved. So I started looking into their names. I started looking into the Vinlanders, and I was like, whoa, there's a lot here. Clearly, this is, you know, a nationalist, racist gang that is all over the nation, you guys. It is everywhere. I highly suggest catching up on that if you don't know about the Vinlanders. If you want to know more about them, definitely watch that video. But we're not going to dig into the memorandum or anything really written in that today. I want to talk about the leaks and Richard Allen's defense attorneys stepping down.
Yeah, that is so crazy. And now the case is being pushed back even further, including all the requests for him to be moved, transferred, because he said he didn't feel safe where he was. Everything is pushed back. Are we going to have a living person by the time this gets to court? If this is true. If, you guys, and I'm not jumping in conspiracy land. I'm just saying, if it's true, we have some evidence that patches were being worn. So at least it's true that the guards believed in this.
Exactly.
Which requires further investigation.
Yep.
That's what that flags for me. Is, oh, wait, one thing at least is true. So can I make 2 things true? Can I make 3 true? Let's keep going down this.
Exactly. So, you know, we had this court hearing yesterday, October 20th. You know, people were waiting in line for hours, waiting in the courtroom. There was delays getting Richard Allen there. You know, there was a lot going on behind the scenes, clearly, because the judge comes out and says, you know, basically we had an unexpected turn of events, and the attorneys have stepped down. Andrew Baldwin stepped down verbally. Brad Rossi said she expects him to put it in writing that he's stepping down.
We've had an unexpected turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier this afternoon, the defense attorneys have withdrawn their representation of Mr. Allen. Mr. Baldwin made an oral motion to withdraw. I granted that oral motion to withdraw, and Mr. Rosie will be submitting a written motion to withdraw, I'm assuming within the next couple of days. They have confirmed with the court that Mr. Allen's financial situation remains static, meaning he is continuing to be entitled to appointed counsel. I will reach out to public defenders to make that appointment. As Mr. Allen is now without counsel, I've ordered him transported back to the Department of Correction.
One thing that Truth and Transparency pointed out, okay, which I feel like she did a really good job calling some things out, which I'm going to mention some of the evidence she brought to the table. Shout out to her. Definitely check out her past 2 live streams on the Delphi case, which involves the leaks is the first one, and the second one is the court hearing, where the defense attorney stepped down. But she points out that the judge says expects him to put it in writing.
Yeah.
So he's not officially stepped down then? But she said that's just like, you know, sometimes wording matters. Like, let's just pay attention to that. It could not mean anything. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I don't feel like they would put their neck out on the line saying, hey, they're stepping down if he wasn't.
Right.
My biggest concern is why. Not the what do you call it? This semantics around like how exactly, if he does this, if he verbally says it or if he says it in writing, whether it's true, whether it's not. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know why it's even a thing. Why does he want to, verbally or written? Yeah.
So a lot of people were speculating that the judge, was going to remove one of them from the case.
Yeah.
Specifically being Andrew Baldwin, because it is from his office that these photos and the discovery were stolen from by somebody on his team, and then leaked. And he would have to accept some form of responsibility. I saw a lot of people, like on Court TV and stuff, saying that it was wrong to remove a defense lawyer, from a case where there's trust built, where they've been working hard on this case, you know, and there is apparently a lot of trust between Richard and those lawyers, like a lot. And, you know, his wife was in the courtroom crying, like, the whole time until they pulled her out. So I'm sure it was hard for her. I saw Bob Mata, because he had a live about this, and I just randomly saw it and clicked on it, and he was sitting right behind her, and he said he really got the feeling that even if Richard did do this, which he doesn't seem convinced, he thinks the PCA is absolutely horrible and there's nothing there, that she has no idea. Like, and she really, truly believes he's innocent.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of think he could be innocent. Like, I do not feel like the evidence is good. And I think the memorandum definitely causes a ton of reasonable doubt. And these lawyers were really going to bat. And I think that a lot of good points were made today that you do not get this. They are public defenders, which technically they're private attorneys that were put in that position of defending him that way because he doesn't have the money to pay for lawyers. So them doing this for free and representing him and going to bat like this and digging into this much information, you don't get this normally. So this is really, really extremely unfortunate. So the judge said that they stepped down, and this is going to set everything back. They're going to have to reschedule a trial. The next court date, she's going to be looking for an attorney, and that's when his new attorney will be presented to him. Now, I did see somebody ask a question. I believe it was on Court TV.
If I was the wife, I would get to work calling people and asking people to defend him. However, I think that a smart attorney would call his previous defense and find out what the heck, man, what was going on.
So that's another thing the judge mentioned, is that she asked his old attorneys, to work with the new ones.
Okay.
Like, not necessarily give over what they've done, their work product or whatever they call it.
I mean, they should, but...
Right, she said that they aren't required to.
Yeah.
But they can, and to, like, kind of give them the rundown and everything.
Yeah.
She thinks that they will, because it's in his best interest, and they clearly cared about this case, which makes me question why. Why did they step down? Was it to save themselves from, messing up their career, like the potential of being disbarred or anything like that? I even go to, were they being threatened? Because we have information here, okay, that makes me question if they even should have gotten in trouble at all.
Yeah.
So, Truth and Transparency showed a interview that Drunk Turkey did in the spring, okay, of this guy, Rick Snay from Delphi After Dark. He has a channel called Delphi After Dark, who was receiving emails for 6 months. These pictures, real crime scene photos, is what it sounds like. Because if you go listen to this Drunk Turkey episode, this interview with Rick Snay, what he's saying here confirms to me, from what we know from this recent leak, that these were real crime scene photographs. Like, when they show the dotted F on the tree, he's like, that is not what it looked like. And now we know that isn't what it looked like.
Yeah.
It did look painted on.
Yeah.
It was a perfect F, not splatter.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say perfect. I mean, you can tell that it was done, but to me, it looks like it was wiped. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Which the picture that was going around before that was just like the black spots.
It looks like
that,
and
splatter. Yeah. It looks like splatter. It does not look like somebody literally wiped it on there.
Yeah.
This looks like somebody literally wiped and painted it to the tree.
It does. It does. It looks intentional. It looks like it is that F letter, like, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yep.
It because the F from that alphabet almost looks like a Y with an extra mark on the underside. So, yeah, and that's what it looked like to me when I saw it. Mm-hmm. And is that the leak claim now, though?
What? That it's the wiped F?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was already out back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was already being leaked spring of 2022. And he had been receiving them for 6 months.
Then I wonder why. Because maybe he wouldn't have been taken off.
Right, it's 2022, right?
Yeah.
Look, hey, will you search this on YouTube? Delphi Richard Allen discussion with Rick Snay on Drunk Turkey, just to confirm that was 2022. Because I didn't write down a year in my notes. I just want to make double sure that that's what it was. But regardless,
How do you spell Snay?
Snay. So what? Wasn't it just at the top?
No.
That says Drunk Turkey Show, Delphi Richard Allen discussion with Rick Snay.
This?
Yeah.
Okay. What about it? 9 days ago.
Okay. So they did it 9 days ago. So then when was he getting these leaked? They just say spring. This past spring. So maybe it was 2023, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was 2022, but it sounds like it might have been 2023.
Either way,
it was prior to these supposed recent leaks, okay?
Yeah.
So we have two separate instances of leaks. The first one clearly was this guy, Rick Snay, okay? Who that came from, we don't know. Did it come from the same person? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
The most recent leaks were apparently given to Murder Sheet Podcast, and they made an episode on it where they claim that they dug deeper into it, that this guy Mark, okay, emails them, says he was a part of these leaks, but he's not the original source, sends them the pictures and says, please take it all to the police, and was regretting being a part of this leak. Now, is it a leak? Because these crime scene photos, which Murder Sheet Podcast refuses, like even Ashley Banfield tried to push them and was like, she's like, I'm only going to push a little, but can you at least tell us if you actually saw, like, was it the girls, were the children in the pictures? And they were like, yeah, we're going to decline to comment. She said, I wish I never saw these. Nobody should be seeing them. And they were definitely real.
Yeah.
And they're horrible. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. But
yes, I think to start off with, we definitely think what happened today occurred due to the leak, and that these were some of the repercussions or aftershocks of said leak. And as for whether we were surprised, I think we both thought that there was a pretty decent likelihood that the defense attorneys might be removed from the case, that could be a consequence of the leak. But I don't think either of us expected that they would be withdrawing themselves.
The pictures came into your possession, you and Anya's possession. How did that happen?
We were contacted by a source that we talked to before, and he sent us these images. And after we talked about it with him, he was pretty shaken about it. He was a little bit stunned that he had these. This is a father. He didn't know what to do. And as we talked about it and the gravity of the situation hit him, he said that we really should do the right thing, which to his mind was to go to law enforcement and give them full information about exactly where he got these images.
And then were you able to tell law enforcement where your source got his or her hands on the photos?
Yes, our source provided us with screenshots of his interactions with the person who had given him the photos, and that revealed quite a lot. We reviewed it, and he basically gave that to us on the condition that we would take it to law enforcement. So when we reviewed it, looking through it ourselves, we realized that there was essentially a middleman between our source and the original leaker, and that the original leaker was a member, a former employee of attorney Andy Baldwin's law firm, and a close personal friend of Andy Baldwin. So that was where we sort of pieced together what had happened.
What can you tell us about those pictures that you saw that were leaked from the case?
I think they were crime scene photos, and they were graphic. They were disturbing, and just looking at them, it was obvious that they were authentic. And beyond that, I say just leave it to the imagination. They were very disturbing images.
Do you think it may have been an effort on behalf of the defense or someone who supports the defense, might not have been the law office, do you think it might have been an effort to promulgate this theory that, arose fairly recently, that this was the odonistic cult, ritualistic sacrifice of children, et cetera, et cetera? Do you think this was an effort to poison the jury, that in fact was their theory?
I'll certainly answer that. Before I do, I want to stress that we have not seen nor are we aware of any evidence that directly ties attorney Andrew Baldwin to this leak. As far as we know, it was just his friend who was responsible for this. But certainly from the text communications and the screenshots we saw of the communication of the middleman with our source, it seems pretty clear that his motivation for sharing these images was he thought it would be helpful to the defense, that he believed that what was in these images would somehow support their theory of the case.
Clearly this isn't a full-blown leak, because the only picture that has full-blown leaked, which I could only find a few, was clothing in the river and the F on the tree.
Yeah.
That's all I can find, and apparently the clothing on the river is pretty old. So like all the other pictures clearly weren't full-blown leaked. So can we, like, it's not really a full-blown leak in my opinion.
I mean, maybe not, but
normally when things are leaked to the internet, you can find them.
Yeah, that would still count as a leak. If they're in the hands of somebody that they're not supposed to have, whether that person denied to put them out on the internet or not, it's still considered a leak, and I get it. So the big question of concern then would be, was that leak recent or was it not? And this was sent out, months and months and months ago. And if it's not recent, then why the concern with the defense attorneys stepping down now? That doesn't make sense. And then that would make me feel like it's not about the leak. It's about something different than at that point. Or was this leak put out and then they ran this story of a leak and that was then somebody reaching out to the defense attorney saying, look at what we just did. If you keep going with this, it's going to be worse. It's going to be your career. You know what I mean? Are these real possibilities? Are we going too tin hat here? I don't know. I just know that the little bit of information that we've been able to confirm from the original statement made about all of this craziness is there's something there.
Yeah.
There is something there, okay?
There is.
We saw statements of the police who were wearing patches. We tracked the two separate statement bullet points to where one says, I started managing this area in February, March. And then it says, I started wearing the patches 6 or 7 months ago. But February, March was 6 or 7 months ago. So really what you're saying is that you started all of this 6 or 7 months ago. And that's a big question. That verifies that they were wearing Odin patches. They were wearing I Hate People patches. They were wearing that one, whatever it's called. I forget what that's called. The
Volk
triangle.
knot.
Yep, the Volk knot U.S. flag patch. Like, that's real, okay? The defense attorney stepping down, that's real. So then how, who, what, where, and why?
Yeah, so it's even worse than that. Okay, these correctional officers were hired only within a couple months of Richard Allen being arrested and put in this prison. They're hired a couple months after he's put in there, okay? Then, a few months later, they are promoted to a supervisor over the area he's in. And at that same time where they're promoted and supervising the area he's in, they start wearing these patches.
Right. Right.
If you go look at their sworn affidavits of them claiming to not be in an extremist group and not be Odinist, but they do represent their faith in their country through these I Hate People patches, saying they're not a part of a hate group, it doesn't represent hate, but they're literally wearing a patch that says I hate people, and in Odin we trust, and a Volk knot patch combined with an American flag patch. Like, bro.
Yeah. There's something there. I'm not saying it's a full-blown conspiracy. I'm not saying that
and then he confesses.
All these people are involved. We aren't saying he has to confess. I'm sure that those patches are on video. I'm sure of it.
No, I'm saying I want to know at what point Richard Allen started going downhill. Was it when that guy started supervising him and wearing the patches, and then Richard Allen confesses once he's been going downhill, and these guys have been overseeing him and not allowing him to be able to speak privately with his attorneys?
Yeah.
I want to know the timeline for this, because this is seriously a problem. We have a problem on our hands if that's the case.
Yeah.
And his lawyers were working very hard to get him moved. They were also working on this Franks motion to get the search warrant overturned and get all that evidence thrown out of court.
Yeah.
Throughout this memorandum, are we going to have new attorneys come in and say, yeah, we're not going to use any of that?
We're not going to go down that road. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. And the unknown sucks if he's innocent. And I don't know. I'm not... This is another situation similar to Idaho 4 where, hey, I see very real red flags here. Absolutely, 100% I see them. Am I willing yet, based on what I have in the evidence that we see, willing to say Richard Allen is innocent or Richard Allen is guilty? I'm not there yet. I don't know. But I know that I have questions. I know that, you know, the evidence against Richard Allen is weak. I know that it's huge coincidences with these guys being hired, promoted to supervisor, patches put on, and all this stuff. It aligns with Richard Allen being added in there. Yes, all of those things.
Yeah. So, another important note, okay? So, Murder Sheet Podcast gets this email from Mark, okay? Then they do digging. They track it back to this guy's source and the person who apparently worked for Baldwin, the attorney, the defense attorney, and this is a guy who worked for them and apparently stole the discovery, which we now have a new document, which is a memorandum from Baldwin's attorney, because he hired an attorney planning to fight his removal, okay, that morning before he ever stepped down.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, so this guy R, okay, Murder Sheet won't go any more into that. They say, and apparently, which is in their episode at the time they put that out, they said last week this guy unalived himself after this started being looked into. And then they say, don't engage in stupid speculation that he was killed or something like that. Dude, it is our right to engage in speculation. It is our right to ask questions, especially when it comes, in my opinion, to something like this, where it almost seems like a man could be being framed right now and abused in a correctional facility and not getting help. Yeah. His attorneys are gone. He has no one representing him at this moment. We don't know what the next attorneys are going to do. Like, how deep, if there is corruption, if there is, how deep does it go?
Yeah,
because
interesting.
A lot of things, Truth and Transparency also posted some very interesting stuff, okay, about Tony Liggett and Libby's mom. Libby's mom, I found out, is a single mother, which, okay, apparently the motive could have been that her mother was dating a guy that wasn't part of the race. I found that out because I watched some videos that I had never seen before, and I did not follow the Delphi case closely. So, I see these videos on her recent live stream where the mom is talking about how she got zero communication from the police. Like, they were supposed to have this family meeting or something. She was not informed about it at all. Really? Tony Liggett said really horrible things about this mother.
Really?
Horrible things.
Wow.
We need to go watch that video on live stream. Yeah. Because it's incredibly important, because he is mentioned in the memorandum a lot about him lying. And he and a few other police officers came in and sat in the jury pool right before the judge started talking. Apparently they were going to testify or something and be witnesses at that hearing. But obviously it didn't happen because he didn't have attorney. You know, Richard Allen didn't have attorneys anymore. He had no representation. Yeah. So I think it's really important to look at who was overseeing this case, because clearly they ignored a lot. They were really bad at communicating with the family, and even went as far as putting down one of the mothers, which is a huge red flag in my mind.
Yeah.
Putting down one of the mothers. The mother who supposedly may have been the one dating outside of the race, and that could have been the motive, according to the memorandum.
Yeah. That's super strange.
Because we've said before, it could only be one officer. That's the problem. In any case that involves an officer trying to hide something or cover up or frame somebody or something like that.
Yeah.
And there is proof of him not being honest.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm telling you, I think it's interesting. And I think there's some big red flags here that absolutely need answered. And it just sucks in court cases because they move at a snail's pace for people that, you know, need answers like myself. It feels like it moves at a snail's pace. I just hope there's something more to this. I know multiple people that were in the courtroom said that those police seemed really uncomfortable sitting up there, like something was wrong. They were giving off the body language that something was wrong, or they were stressed out, anxiety, whatever. So to have these attorneys just all of a sudden step down, it makes me curious, like, what else is there to this? Because technically, if I saw corruption and fraud at this level, did one of these attorneys reach out to the FBI? Because that would have been my go-to. Who do you turn to when your law enforcement is corrupt?
The FBI removed themselves from this case, so I mean, I think that's what this case needs. I think the investigation needs to be reopened. I really hope they are investigating now. I do know that apparently at least 3 of those guys from the memorandum were pulled back in and re-interviewed recently, since all of this happened. Mm-hmm. What that means, what's going to come of that, we have literally zero idea. But if Elvis, one of the guys from Memorandum who supposedly spit on the bodies and said he was there and confessed, if he has intimate knowledge of the crime scene that could not be possible, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Why was that ignored?
Yeah.
Why? So yes, last thing I want to mention here is this document where Mr. Baldwin says he's developed a strong and trusting bond with Richard Allen, and that disqualification of either of his court-appointed attorneys would greatly prejudice his right to counsel in a timely trial and violate his Sixth Amendment right. He was planning on fighting this. Disqualification of counsel is an extreme remedy for any alleged or perceived violation of a court's order. Most, if not all, concerning disqualification of counsel involve conflicts of interest. And they're basically saying that's not what's going on here. And that he didn't do anything wrong. He was snookered and abused. Basically, he left his documents, the discovery, in his office. He didn't have it under lock and key. This guy goes in, takes pictures of it, and that's what happened. It was essentially stolen from him, and after he found that out, he put it in a safe.
Yeah.
Under lock and key.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something that you should have to worry about. I agree. But here's the thing, though. If you're in charge of those things, I mean, I get it. I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. Now, did the judge, looking at this optimistically, did the judge look at this and say, hey, look, this is going to go on your record as an attorney. So you have one of two options. One, I know you care about this case, and they are now looking at other suspects, and I firmly believe that Richard Allen is going to be able to be let out of here. And two, are you sure you want to continue as his attorneys and risk the backlash of everything that you put out? You know what I mean? Is that a possible outcome here, since people have been pulled back in?
See, what I was wondering is basically they're going to work on the back end now for his case, and they're just going to have different front people in the courtroom. Because she said that they will work with his attorneys, his new attorneys.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
So I'm almost wondering if because of these leaks, if it looked bad, okay, so bad that it would be called into question and everything, and it was just kind of a mess, are they going to continue working on his case, but in the background?
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's a good positive potential outcome. Yeah, yeah.
So, and it is also confirmed in this document. It says there were 3 disseminators, meaning 3 people leaking this. One of which unalived themselves after law enforcement investigation began. So it is confirmed in this document that this person unalived themselves.
Wow.
We know it for sure now. It's no longer speculation. It's no longer coming from the Murder Sheet podcast. It is in a court document now. Yep.
Interesting. And it's no shady circumstances?
Okay.
Has anything been talked about regarding, shady circumstances or anything?
No.
No? Okay.
So, but he did say he kept the documents in a locked room, in a locked filing cabinet. It says that he left it in there for like a second in an unlocked room, and that's when it happened.
Okay.
So here, Mr. Baldwin's trusted friend, he trusted him to respect the office space. He was betrayed. So basically he kept all of it in the room, locked filing cabinet. Defense counsel has put together a plan for curative action in which no items will be left unattended even for a second. So, yeah. So they're basically saying he did keep it there, but it was unattended and this happened, and now that's not going to be possible to happen ever again. Yeah. Like, if someone gets up and goes to the bathroom, it has to be locked back in the filing cabinet.
Yeah.
So, from what I'm hearing, it sounded like whoever leaked this thought genuinely it would help the defense. I'm curious what position they were in within this office.
Because
that does not help. You literally just, did so much damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I didn't really understand it at all at first either because, if somebody on the defensive side leaked this, they're essentially saying that they care more about the public knowing about this than the actual case they're hired to do, because all this does is discredit them.
I agree with you, but I can see that's why I don't understand what position were they in, because I feel like somebody who doesn't know law could think that, okay, if I leak this, it proves that there is something funky here. This crime scene is not right.
The funk would have came out.
It would have, you're right.
The right way.
The right way.
Yeah.
But I think they were afraid justice was not going to be served. Something was going to happen that people wouldn't believe them, or I don't know.
It sounds like an inexperienced person. Again,
right.
Cases take forever, and I think that's why a lot of YouTubers and content creators get up in their feelings and up in arms about it, because so many cases, we got to wait months and months and months, if not years and years, while we're going through this. But that's standard.
It is.
That's standard.
Yeah, it's normal. So, I don't know. It sounds like they were trying to do the right thing, but it was not the right thing to do at all.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree.
I think this is incredibly unfortunate. I'm really looking forward to hearing more. I really hope that... Because I want to tear this apart. You know what I mean? I wish so badly we had more information, because I want to know what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I really, really hope these new lawyers do not come in and throw all of this to the wayside. That would be horrific, in my opinion. That would be a severe injustice to not look at it, because This is all from the discovery that the prosecution handed over. This is not made up. This is not those defense attorneys' own private investigation. This is literally them taking material from the discovery and collecting it and putting it together and putting it in the memorandum.
Well, there is some new evidence. The new evidence is the timelines around the guards. That's new. That was not in the discovery.
Okay, yes, the corrections officers is new, and also they talked to the guy who brought the attention to the police about BH.
Yep.
And his Facebook post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there was a little bit, but everything else comes from the discovery.
Yep.
But I want to know what you guys think is going on here. Do you think there's corruption here? Do you think this is explainable? Do you think it was the right move for the attorneys to step down?
Is there a play?
Is there a play there? What would have happened if they didn't step down?
Do they already have attorneys that are like gonna step up?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're like, okay, we can have these attorneys in line to step up, and then we'll just assist them with what we know and have.
And did they have a meeting with the judge and say, "Hey, judge, I have an idea, so that this doesn't taint the case anymore, because I know this is going to leave a bad stain on here and we care about justice. What if we did this?"
You know what I think is really unfortunate? I feel like the defense is fighting harder for the truth and justice than the prosecution is, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
But honestly, not that much is being said about the prosecution, so maybe I'm too quick to the jump, but hopefully they are. Hopefully he is trying to get more investigation done on it.
I hope so.
Behind the scenes. But let us know what you think. And that's a wrap for Delphi for now.
Yes.
We'll keep following it.
Let us know.